Welcome, my students, to another week in math. We will be covering a little brief overview of what we are doing for this week. Now I'm going to go ahead and go into your period 1 or period 3. You could decide which one you want to choose. And if you go ahead and click on this, it will take us to the same folder that we have been talking about, rates and proportions. And I want you to pay attention to this one right here. It's the project comparing and scaling. This is due Friday. Remember that you also have the homework that we discussed in class, which is also due this Friday, April 16th. Now, if we click on this, you will notice on yours, it's going to have my work, and that means you could get started on this document. So I'm going to go ahead and click on comparing and scaling unit project. Now, I'm going to open mine. I'm going to put sample since I decided to do a sample. That way I could help you and guide you through the process. So remember, make sure you put your name and your date. And for this one and this project, you're going to spend some time into really getting to know the idea behind comparing quantities. We are doing ratios, and this will help you a little bit more to compare ratios. This project, you're going to have 3 different parts, and you are going to be working on this in class. The first part is the survey. So you will be doing a survey, and I will be modeling in class. You're also going to represent your survey data using a comparison method. And then the last part, you're going to create 2 advertisements. Okay, now let's go ahead and talk about part 1, which is the survey. This one, in this part of your project, you're going to come up with a question. It's going to be a question that has 2 possible answers. And you're going to ask the people in your class, and it could be your friends, your families, neighbors. You're going to ask at least 10 people to complete your survey. And you're going to record your response on the provided sheet that is in this document. So for example, you can have questions that might be, do you prefer cats or dogs? Would you rather go to Hawaii or Alaska? Do you like McDonald's or Burger King better? So it could be any of these questions, but you cannot use these questions here. You could use the type of question. So do you prefer DC or marble? Ice cream or soda, something like that. You just decide what type of questions. And if you need any help, you could ask me. Okay, I don't mind helping you. So that's the part 1. Part 2 is represent survey data. And for this project, you're going to use the data that you collected during your survey to fill out the worksheet that is also attached in this document. So you're going to be using the ideas of fractions, percents, ratios, and differences, equivalent ratios, and proportions. Okay, so again, we're going to be doing this part in class. When you are done with both part 1 and part 2, part 3 is a fun one. Okay, this here is where you create 2 advertisements using your survey data. So the first advertisement should be from the choice survey that you got the most votes, okay? And you're going to try to convince your public that this is the better choice based on the data that you have. Then your second advertisement should be the choice that got less votes. And right here, you're going to try to convince us that this is the better choice. And yes, you can use some misleading techniques that we have talked about and will talk in the class. For example, bad graphs. For example, very small print or fast talking. All of this will be to convince that audience to choose the one that got the less votes. Now, careful. Advertisements should be creative. And you could make a poster, you can make a video, a radio script, or any other creative methods that you could think of. And you can also do 2 different types of advertisements. You could do one that's a radio and then the other one that's a video. One that's a poster, whatever it is your creativity. But again, if you're having trouble coming up with ideas, just ask me. Okay? Now, this is how it should look, and I'm going to be doing this as we speak. So I did ask a question in the class. Now, for this survey, it says write your question here. I'm going to go ahead and write my question. So I would, the question I had was, what do you like better, marble or DC? Okay, now you're going to type in your full question using complete sentences. But then, just to be clear, it says, what are your two choices? Okay, I'm going to put marble here, and then I'm going to put or. So I'm just going to put it like this, or, and then DC. Okay, now if I go down here, I'm going to erase all of this. That way it could be organized. Okay, now, if I go ahead and look at this part right here, it says choice 1 or choice 2. So I'm going to record my response. I could either just take this off and type in marble, and then the other one, DC. So I'm going to, okay, right here. And then this one, I'm going to put DC. Okay, now right here, I'm going to put the name. So I already asked this question in the class. And let's say I have the following students. Okay, notice that I have my 10 students here. Again, you could ask students, you could ask family members, you could ask teachers, and then you get them to vote. So for example, right here, I have 10 kids, and I could either put marble on each one or put an X. For these reasons, I'm just going to put an X. Okay, and this is the data that I have. Okay, so now I could see, hey, you know what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 kids chose marble, and then I have 2 kids that chose DC. Now, this is the first part. Now you go to the second part. So again, how many people did the survey? And I'm going to put for this one, I'm going to put 10 students, okay? Or 10 people, 10 human beings, okay? 10 incredible and amazing kids. Okay, so how many people chose choice 1? And for this, I'm going to click enter. Okay, and for choice 1, I am going to say that 8 students chose, what is it, marble, right? And then down here, I'm going to put 2 students chose DC. Now it says, write a comparison between choice 1, choice 2, and the total using. So if we look at this one, it says fractions. Okay, we are going to get marble. And there was 8 students out of all the 10 students that chose marble. Okay, but then for DC, we have 2 students out of the total 10 kids that chose DC. Now, this is how I should write them in percentages, but can I simplify? So can I make this into smaller portions? And the answer would be yes. So if I have to simplify, what would it be? And that's what I want you guys to have here. So what is my greatest common factor of 8 and 10? So if I go like this, 8 over 10, my greatest common factor would be 2. So 8 divided by 2 would be 4. Then 10 divided by 2 would be 5. So 8 over 10 equals 4 over 5. Same thing here with the DC characters. I need to find my greatest common factors. So that would be 2. 2 divided by 2 equals 1. 10 divided by 2 equals 5. So I just made an equivalent fraction. Now down here in percentage. Down here in percentage would be the same information. But now what you need to do is divide 8. 8 divided by 10. If you do that, you're going to get 0.80. Okay, so when you do that, it turns into decimal. You then need to multiply it by 100, and that's going to give you 80%. Same thing with marble. You have 2. Make sure you divide it. you're going to get a decimal, and that's going to be 0.20. You multiply that by 100, and that would give you 20%. Now in ratio format, which is what we have been doing in class, we are going to talk about part to part, part to whole, and whole to part. So again, this will be also done in class, as well as the differences. Trying to find the difference from part to part, part to whole, whole to part. We're going to talk about all this in class, okay? So hopefully that was very helpful. We will continue this sample together. That way you could have that visual understanding. Okay, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. Have a good one.